Joining us for this discussion about hip-hop and its intersection with photography and design are author, editor, and commentator A.R. Shaw, who will be running the show. As our moderator, D.L. Warfield, whose innovative designs for some of hip-hop's most notable album covers are on display in the Deep Covers exhibition in the Mayor's Gallery, and the Dungeon family's own Big Rube, who some regard as the unofficial poet laureate of the Dirty South. We hope that your experience with us today inspires your own creativity and fosters a deeper appreciation for the cultural phenomenon that is hip-hop. So thank you.
How's everybody doing? Good. This is the kickoff of the 2023 Elevate, so I want you all to give a round of applause for that. It's an amazing 2 weeks of art and culture. I am A.R. Shaw, the executive editor of the Atlanta Daily World, the first black daily publication in America. Also, the author of the book Trap History is the first book on the history of trap music. Before we get started, I want my esteemed panelists to introduce themselves and just give them an introduction of how you all laid a foundation for this thing we call hip-hop in Atlanta. I'm gonna start with you, Rube.
How y'all doing? It's Big Rube. Mostly known for being in the Dungeon family with Outkast and Goody Mob. Younger cats might know Future, you know what I'm saying? And we started out in the 90s, kind of spreading the Atlanta sound to hip hop, giving it Dirty South sound, as my boy Dre says, South got something to say. And we still got something to say.
Yes, sir. Give it up. Mr. D.L. Warfield.
Yeah, my name is D.L. Warfield. Originally from St. Louis, been a b-boy all my life. You know, just had surgery, so I can't show y'all any moves today. But if I didn't have surgery, I would. My foundation started, you know, way back in, you know, the early '80s, like '81, '82. You know, from breakdancing to graffiti artists and things like that. But where I really made my impact was when, you know, me and my wife moved to Atlanta, and I had the opportunity to work with artists like Rube and Outkast, Goody Mob, T.I., you know, et cetera. So, you know, that is where I think I definitely made my biggest hip hop impact.
Definitely give it up for. Let's go. So before we get into it, I want to read an excerpt of my book, Trap History, and it's an excerpt about growing up in Atlanta. We were the kids of Atlanta, born and raised in a city that seemed like an island located in the South, but not of the South. Our dialect and manners were traditionally Southern, but we did not give a darn about certain Southern traditions that suggested minorities accept second-class status. Atlanta served as our oasis, a destination where the young and inspired could find refuge. We could dream like Martin, inspire change like Maynard, and create like the Dungeon family. We were from the bottom, but we always believed that we had a puncher's chance to reach the top. It only took one song, one acceptance letter, one scholarship, one employment opportunity, and one business idea for our lives to change forever. To walk in Atlanta often meant that you were walking on the power of possibility. So I want to talk about the power of possibility and what that meant for you. I want to start with you, Big Rube, as far as being in Atlanta, knowing that you were in a special space and having that power of possibility.
Well, I was always just on the family style, just raised as luckily, you know what I'm saying, that you could do whatever you put your mind to. And that being said, I didn't think we was gonna get no record deals at first because, you know, we weren't from New York. You know, not that I knew anything politically about it, it's just that as a kid, that's all we had saw was, you know, New York, you know what I mean? And as we got a little older, you started to say, well, okay, well, you know, you got West Coast, you got Miami sound, you know what I'm saying? So you got the South in there, Texas. So, okay, maybe we can do this thing, you know what I'm saying? So I started out as a rapper at about age 12. And I don't know, it's kind of like the power of possibilities is so unknown, your imagination can't even grasp what you could possibly do because everything we planned, most of it, was even better than we could have hoped. You know what I mean?
Definitely, definitely. D, I want to throw it to you. You not like, being from Atlanta, but you know, by way of St. Louis in New York, and you came down here at a special time in the 90s. Can you talk about that? What did you see in Atlanta that was different from any other city?
Well, you know, I think this question has perfect timing because I was actually having this same conversation with one of my mentors yesterday about, you know, you can do anything and you could be anything. And so, you know, going back to St. Louis, like I had older friends, I had a few family members that lived down here, like older cousins, but I had, you know, older friends that went to Morehouse, and the perspective that they always gave me was that, you know, Atlanta is a place for a young black person to go in and make a difference, you know, and so, like, I took that with me. Even before I actually even came to Atlanta, I just knew that Atlanta, you know, like, was that type of place, you know, and so coming down here, you know, from St. Louis to New York and landing in Atlanta, like, one of the things that I think made it very fruitful is that when I came here, I never felt like a stranger. Like, I always felt like I fit in. You know, like, I mean, I remember the first time I met Rube and the first time I met Big Boy and Dre, like, you really felt like family. So it's almost like you had a built-in support system. And so, you know, if you want things to grow, you put them in that support system, and they grow. And I definitely grew.
Definitely. For those who don't know, for the people in the back, that's Morgan Freeman, Academy Award winning actor. Penning the words for Morgan Freeman on the 21 Savage Metro Boomin project. How did it even come together?
Man, I don't know. I guess Metro must call Future or somebody that got my number, because he just called me straight up. Like, I'm like, Metro Boomin, for real? He's like, yeah. So he's like, you want to write something for Morgan Freeman on the new 21 Savage album? And the censored version of what I said was, heck yeah. I was like, I don't even know why you even asked me. Like, I mean, other than to let me know I'm doing it, you know, because, you know, it's Morgan Freeman, you know, play God. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, oh, I get to write some verses for God, I'm good. You know, so, but yeah, Metro gave me a call, and he told me what they was planning on doing. And at the time, I believe they may have been out of town or something was going on, you know, real busy. And he, you know, these days, they didn't want to send a lot of music out. So I said, well, since he told me he wanted it to be excerpts in between the songs, I said, well, send me the song names and a couple of breakdowns. So he sent me all the song names and what it was going to be about and stuff. So I had to write all Morgan stuff just based on like almost like when you do a video treatment. And I just wrote all this stuff based on the song names, the structure of the song, what the song subject matter was about, and it turned out well.
That's amazing.
Super dope.
That's amazing. Hearing him say those words, like when you first heard it, like what was that? Like when you first heard it?
It was a trip because the way that I did it was I wrote him copy, of course, and then I kind of just laid it down. Because I like Morgan Freeman anyway. And then I went and looked at a bunch of stuff, and then he does a series, a docu-series talking about the cosmos, you know what I mean? And I watch that stuff all day anyway, so I watched a bunch of stuff, and I was just getting used to his intonations and his cadence and stuff, so that I wrote it, you know, it was stuff that I would probably say, but because they wanted it to have that street edge to it, which is why they called me in the first place, but I wanted him to be comfortable saying it, you know what I'm saying, and something that he would, you know, be cool with saying. And once they told me, I read, actually nobody knew that I had wrote it. When it came out, Metro went on his page and said, you know, Big Rube wrote this stuff. So Cash was all on this. I knew it. That just sounded, because when it first came out, they was like posted like, Morgan Freeman going there on 21, you know what I'm saying? So I read an interview that Morgan did, and he said that when he read it, because they was like, well, why did you decide to do it? Because he said he didn't know who 21 Savage was, so his wife, he said the joke was his wife told him he must be living under a rock or something like that. But he said that when he read the copy, that he actually agreed with a lot of the messages, you know what I mean? And that he thought in a similar manner. So that was just, you know, I was just elated, you know, at that point, you know what I'm saying?
That's a big look for the city of Atlanta. That was a moment.
Oh yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to talk about some things you've been working on too, the American Flag remixes, and also you did a project with Michael Jackson that went viral. You talk about that Michael Jackson project first.
Man, yeah, so that was like one of those dream calls, but in a high-pressure situation that I got. I mean, who don't want to work with Michael Jackson? You know, like I had a beaded jacket, you know, glitter glove, like everything. So, you know, if you didn't growing up, you know, in the 80s, you had stuff that was whack. But You know, so anyway, like it was one Friday evening, I get a call from the creative director for Universal Motown. And it's like we had the president on the phone with Motown, you know, they want to talk to us. I was like, oh, okay. So Sylvia Rome at the time, and they were like, yeah, this was right after Michael passed, and they had a plan to like repackage some of his classic hits called the Michael Jackson Remix Suites. And they was like, yeah, you know, we would love to talk to you about, you know, creating the cover for this box set. We're talking to a few designers, what you like, what you've done in the past. I was like, okay, that's cool. You know, so then I'm thinking, okay, here comes the shake-up, you know what I mean? And you know, she was like, well, we're gonna give you some images and we want you to present those and we're gonna decide who's gonna design the package after that. You know, I was like, no problem. But then she told me Monday. I'm like, dang, you know? And so it was like Friday evening when we spoke. And, you know, and so like that was one of those weekends that is like, you know, I dropped everything. And I'm an extremely competitive person, you know, but I dropped everything. I worked, you know, did a little research, you know, spent the, you know, maybe one of those nights on the weekend just being up all night, just going through the photo archive that they gave me. And delivered the concepts on Monday, and they picked, you know, the designs that I created, you know. And so, you know, one of the cool things, but not so cool things, is that over the years, like I've seen people take that cover and make other things out of it, you know, whether it's T-shirts or whatever. I'm like, where's my money at? But you know, but it's cool, and that was like, to see his photographs and see like the enjoyment on his face, you know, with his family when he was young, you know, like that was super cool, you know. So, you know, I appreciate the opportunity to compete for it, and I'm definitely glad that I received it.
And I want you to describe the cover because we don't have, I wanted to show a visual of it, but I want you to describe the cover because it's a unique look at Michael Jackson. So describe the process there.
Yeah, so I probably came up with like maybe 15 covers, you know. That was the one that they went with. And the original photo was him sitting in like a director's chair, you know. So I seen that, so then I started going through the archive of like some of the things that he auctioned off or that he was auctioning. And so, you know, like I found an ornate Gothic gold gilded chair in red, you know, and I just literally photoshopped and placed him in that and put him in this environment that was very minimalistic, you know, and to me it just really highlighted him being the king of pop, you know, and seeing his decor aesthetic, you know, I could see something like that actually being in Michael's home.
Definitely.
DL, I have a question about your babies, aka the covers you made. What's your favorite one out of the hundreds you made?
My favorite cover is always like the next one that I'm working on. But man, it was like so many great experiences, you know, like a lot of times, like, you know, on those projects, like I never had the time to celebrate anything. Like the only time I've ever celebrated was actually the first time that I came down here, you know, to the mayor's gallery. But it was always a deadline against a deadline. So I had no time to pat on my back. I was always, you know, trying to push it as far as we could while meeting the deadline. But man, like great memories, man. And a lot of those memories come from the look that the artist had when they seen it, you know, like, I mean, T.I., like I'm Serious, like when Goody Mob, like just how they felt when we did the World Party photo shoot. I don't think that covers up there, but they all had these far-out ideas and we delivered it and just how happy they were. You know, Big Boy and Dre, like they was always cool and excited, but you know, there's not really one, some of the things that never got approved might have actually been like my favorite. Like I have Killer Mike's Monster album cover up there, but that wasn't the original concept. So his first album was called Monster, and the original photo was a straight-on portrait photo, and then I had Mr. Cartoon draw a skull, and they were supposed to print that in glow-in-the-dark ink, and all of the typing, his book was going to be in glow-in-the-dark ink, so you had to go in the dark to read it, and then the name of the album was called Monster, but Sony didn't do the budget, and I'm still mad about it.
Got any more questions? My brother, New Face, what's up with New Face? It's official now.
First of all, I want to say first, as a fan of you both, musically, artistically, visually, you inspire me, mentoring yourself with your words, Big Rube. I wanted to say that you both being a one-on-one, is there anybody of this new generation or someone up and coming that you look to and like, you know, that you say you may have inspired, or you look to and like, okay, they're doing great things in the vein of what I'm doing visually, or, you know, spoken word, that type of thing? Is there anybody of the new generation that you know, have seen your eye on? And I also have, I need the autograph. I've got the Society of Soul and the Outcast cover. You know, you guys both are on there. You know,
Before it's mentioned, Big Rube was a part of Society of Soul, and they were like a combination of like Earth, Wind and Fire, Neo Soul, and rap. And to this day, like the Society of Soul Brainchild album is still my favorite album from LaFace Records. It was like probably 10 years before its time. But if you have a chance, go back and listen to the album. Now, as far as artists, like I'm still waiting for the world to find out that Atlanta has the best artists. You know, I mean, from all different genres, from sculpture to graffiti to fine art, and you know, like it's like I don't want to get into a situation where I'm trying to name like you know, certain individuals because it is so many, and I know I will leave somebody out. You know, like I have people that I talk, you know, artists that I talk to, visual people all the time, and so those are at the top of my mind. But I think like the city of Atlanta, we definitely have world-class talent here on the visual side. You know, unfortunately, but not really unfortunately, because we still got to keep pushing, but the world doesn't know this yet. And I think when the world, and so we haven't hit our artistic ceiling by any means. We're not even scratching the surface. And so, you know, with people like Camille, you know, like they're gonna help. You know, I mean, she's been fighting a good fight for a long time. Like when I was at LaFace, I did an art show in the gallery, like for small work. So first art show that I did when I moved to Atlanta. But yeah, it's just a lot, man. It's a lot of great young artists. You know, it's a lot of music people that create opportunities for great young artists to you know, to showcase their work. And it's a good place to be, you know. And but we still got a lot. We still got a lot to say. Still got a lot to prove.
But I want to thank you all for coming. We have an outstanding program, and I want to congratulate my team. I want to congratulate Melissa Alexander for pulling together such a diverse, all-encompassing look at Atlanta's hip-hop scene.